regreso, señoras y señores, en Deportes para platicar un poquito con Gene Shipley, una figura que ha estado a lo largo de muchos años en el básquetbol profesional en la ciudad de Tijuana y que ahora está involucrado de lleno con la búsqueda y promoción de talento joven desde niños y jovencitos en la ciudad. Así que hoy vamos a platicar un ratito de básquetbol, porque además es un deporte que usted lo sabe, nos apasiona y mucho dentro de lo que es esto. Hi, Gene. How you doing?
How you doing?
Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
La entrevista va a ser en inglés y yo le voy a ir traduciendo simultáneamente en la medida de lo posible para poder hacerlo de la manera más ágil. We're going to do the interview in English, but I'm going to be translating in Spanish.
Okay.
For don't talk too fast.
Okay. Okay.
Or maybe we'll try that. We'll see.
Okay.
Vamos a ver. Pero importante recalcar, ahorita Gene nos decía, ¿no? Él ha cubierto una etapa en Tijuana de muchos años en el básquetbol, jugando con los Dragones, jugando con los Galgos, jugando con los Zonkeys, y nos decía, y con mucho orgullo, que pues cubría un espacio decía, you said, Gene, maybe 3 decades of basketball playing in Tijuana with these 3 important teams in the city, ¿no?
Yeah. 3 decades of basketball here in Tijuana. I'm very proud of that. Obviously, I've seen a lot of great talent that's come here for many years, but yeah, I'm very proud that I've been able to play basketball.
Está muy orgulloso de haber jugado 3 décadas en la ciudad de Tijuana y haber visto a una gran cantidad de talento desfilar, tanto nacionales como extranjeros, compañeros y rivales dentro de lo que es el básquetbol.
Yo creo que aquí recordar esta etapa muy especial que yo creo que todos recordamos en la región. 2005, we were remembering with Gene 2005, 2006, 2007, 2005, 2006, 2007, primero con Dragones y después con Galgos. That was a very special time. We got Dragones with Mr. Atilano, and then with Jeffrey Jensen with the Galgos, and there was a buzz in Tijuana about basketball in that moment. It was very good times.
It was a very good time. I was able, with Atalanta, I was able to play against some of the best Americans in the world. I played with Dennis Rodman like 3 or 4 times. My first head coach, A.C. Earl, was a Boston Celtic. So I played with a lot of NBA players, ex-NBA players, and a lot of aspiring American players. You know, I always say that I think that was like the best era of basketball here in Tijuana. It was a very good era. Of course, it was before the internet and all that sort of stuff, but it was a very good time. It was a very good era.
Es que le tocó vivir, obviamente, que es probablemente una de las eras doradas dentro del básquetbol profesional, la participación de 2 equipos en ligas diferentes, en la ABA con los Dragones de Carlos Atilano, en lo que fue la Liga Nacional de Básquetbol Profesional, la CBP, la Conferencia de Básquetbol Profesional, en donde jugaba el equipo de Galgos de Jeffrey Jensen, por citar solamente alguno. Le tocó inclusive enfrentar o ser compañero de muchos jugadores de los mejores del mundo cuando tenía la oportunidad de jugar en la ABA, en donde fue coachado hasta por...
Se mencionaba ACR.
Que fue de los Celtics de Boston de la era dorada.
Y el evento que fue cuando Rodman estuvo aquí, que si recuerdan, algunos de ustedes por ahí se han de acordar, que la camioneta le rompieron un vidrio y ahí estuvo medio raro, que a ver qué pasó, pero fue todo un evento ver a la super figura Dennis Rodman en el auditorio jugando con los Dragones.
I believe there is few cities in the world who can say that have a Detroit Pistons and Chicago Bull playing in the roster at least for one game. Pocas ciudades en el mundo pueden presumir que tuvieron en su roster a un ex Chicago Bull, ex Detroit Piston, como es el caso de Dennis.
Yeah, it was amazing. First of all, that's one of my best moments ever. I caught an assist from Dennis Rodman, and to be able to play with a player like that, it's very gratifying. It shows how great Carlos Atalano was to bring NBA players in, and Jeffrey Jensen also was a good owner. But in that time era, to be able to play with that kind of level, I mean, he played with Michael Jordan. He played with Scottie Pippen. He played in a basketball era that was like really good. So it was really gratifying playing in that kind of era.
Habla, por supuesto, de recibir una asistencia y del trabajo que hicieron los directivos. Brian Russell is another name that I remember.
Sure. Yes.
You know, Gene, maybe about those events.
Brian Russell también estuvo aquí.
You remember Master P.
Sure.
You remember Master P. Le pregunto por Master P.
Yeah.
Este actor rockero, mogul.
Rapero, rockero.
That he was. No me acuerdo. O sea, I don't remember if he played finally, but he was here and And it goes to that era, no, that they were trying hard to bring famous personalities to try to draw the crowds into the auditorio, no?
Yeah, so here's the teams that we played against. We played with Master P, which was incredible. We played with
Master P.
We played Cedric Ceballos.
Jugaron con Cedric Ceballos, el ex de los Lakers.
We played Byron Russell came down here. We beat them as well. That was one of my favorite things. So Byron Russell, Cedric Ceballos, Master P. I believe there was an Asian guy who went to the NBA from the ABA. I forget his name right now, but that was such a great era. That's when the ABA was like at its finest. Right now, it's a different league right now, but back then, that was like you're just seeing like celebrities and the players that you see on television every day, and you're playing against them. It was very surreal time.
Hay mucha gente que no recuerda esa época particular de la American Basketball Association, la ABA, en donde muchas celebridades, algunos de ellos muy buenos basquetbolistas, otros no tanto, algunos viejos veteranos de la NBA que se refugiaban en la ABA para continuar en sus carreras y seguir jugando en otros lugares. Y le tocó vivir a Gene esta época llena de nombres importantes. Mencionaba a Brian Russell, mencionaba a varios más dentro de lo que era precisamente ese momento. Gene, what are you doing right now? I'm going to tell you something. There is not many guys who came to play baseball with the Potros or Toros, to the Cholos, or to any basketball team that stay in Tijuana, and you did it.
Yeah.
I'm asking you why you take this step to stay in the city and work for your sport with children and young people. Le digo que no todos los jugadores extranjeros que han venido a Xolos, a Toros, a Potros, a Zonkeys, Dragones o Galgos se quedaron a vivir en Tijuana. Gene sí lo hizo. Gene se quedó aquí y trabaja con niños y jóvenes para promover su deporte.
Well, I'll answer the first question first. So actually, along with working with the kids, we actually we owned the team. We sold the team this season, but we owned the team in CIBAPAC in Tecate. We were the Tecate Aguilas, and we owned the team out there. And last season, we made the playoffs last year. I'm very proud of that from an ownership, general manager perspective. So we had a team out there. We were playing in CIBAPAC against the Coyotes and all those teams out there. As far as with the little kids, we started a league called the Black Sheep League, which is in Parque Las Americas. Okay. And that area out there is in like the Hippodrome area. What I wanted to do, my whole thing was I wanted to develop basketball players here. I love this city. I love everything that's about it. I love the weather. I love everything that has to do with out here. It has its problems. There's traffic and that sort of thing. But for the most part, I love the city. And what I wanted to do is develop young basketball players so they can play against people like Dennis Rodman or the future, to develop that the future kid to become a good basketball player. So what we did is we did it from a professional perspective in the CIBAPAC in Tecate. We're doing it from a kid perspective with the little kids. We're developing the little kids. And we had a league as well, which we're going to start that back up here, I guess, this summer, where we had some of the top players from the area, Tijuana, Ensenada, and Mexicali, and we make a league and just see who's the better teams or whatever. So basically, my whole thing was to keep basketball going all year round, unless the weather's bad, of course. But like, we want to keep basketball going all year round. So it's not like basketball's only from December to March. No, just keep it going all year.
Not an autumn sport.
Because there's some people who really want to keep playing. They're very serious about it, and I want to develop that next player so they could become the next good superstar here in Tijuana.
Dice que obviamente pues, se quedó en Tijuana porque ama la ciudad, con todos sus problemas. Digo que es una situación que generan todas las ciudades grandes. El tráfico, los traslados, el tiempo, como sea, pero se enamoró de Tijuana y eso lo llevó a quedarse en la ciudad y empezó a trabajar con niños y jóvenes, sí, pero también a promover la posibilidad de un deporte profesional en otras plazas, como fue el caso de Tecate, en donde tuvo un equipo en la CIBAPAC. El año pasado lo metió siendo general manager y dueño de la franquicia a playoffs. Este año ya vendió la franquicia, pero tenía la inquietud de buscarle, no solamente como jugador, sino ahora como general manager y como dueño de una franquicia para seguir en esto. Y Dice que lo motiva mucho la situación de encontrar al siguiente gran talento de básquetbol emanado de Tijuana y buscar que el deporte ráfaga no sea solamente un deporte de otoño e invierno, bajo techo, y que haya básquetbol todo el año.
Todo el tiempo, ¿no? Yo creo que preguntarte, Gene, acerca de qué aprendiste de tu larga carrera de jugador, que ahora estás implementando como directivo, dueño, GM. What was the biggest thing that you learned of your long professional career as a player to now that you put on as a GM or maybe owner or maybe both? What was the biggest thing that you are trying to take from your playing days?
So here's the thing, and I got this from a movie, Semi-Pro. Of course, Jackie Moon was the owner, the coach, the player, and the one thing I learned this year in particular with the CIBAPAC team, with being the general manager and owner, it's a lot of hard work. It's not just you anymore. It's not just Gene Shipley scored 30 points. You got to worry about other players. You got to worry about their fed. You got to worry about their apartment situation. You got to get people to practice and all that stuff.
And if you could talk with your young player, you would have that. But that's obvious. No? When you're a player, you're focusing yourself, getting your numbers, trying to help the team win, but you are not seeing maybe the whole, maybe you know it, but you are not focusing.
Dice Gene, me llamó mucho la atención, me gustó mucho trabajar dentro de lo que es este aspecto, conocer las otras circunstancias, no preocuparme no solamente por meter 10, 20, 30 puntos en un partido, sino todo lo demás, dónde se hospedan los jugadores, qué comen, que lleguen a tiempo a entrenar, un montón de cosas que cuando eres jugador le remataba a Anuar. No piensas, cuando eres jugador piensas como jugador y no te imaginas todo lo que pasa detrás, ¿no?
I admire Atalano and Jeffrey Jensen and Carrillo with the Zonkeys, because that's a lot of hard work. You're dealing with 12 human beings. Then you have to deal with those 12, their emotions. You got to deal with their contracts. You got to deal with their wives. You have to deal with their family. You got to deal with their food situation. You got to deal with their housing situation. Where's the Wi-Fi? There's a million things that come up, and so it's tough. And so I tip my hat off to Atalano and Jeffrey Jensen and Carrillo, because it's a lot of hard work. It was stressful, but now I understand it. I have an appreciation for it from a different angle.
Dice que se quita el sombrero para los que le han entrado para ser dueños de un equipo profesional en Tijuana. Dice, tienes que pensar en 12 seres humanos que necesitan dónde vivir, dónde comer, recibir su pago a tiempo, sus familias, su situación particular, si están altas, bajas, un montón de cosas.
No, y ese dueño o presidente pues tienen que lidiar con el tickets, boletos, medios, media. I mean, it's not only
something goes wrong. Yes. If someone slips and falls and busts their head, you got to get them to the hospital.
Medic attention.
Insurance. Yeah, there's so many things that can happen.
Dice que tienes un montón de cosas que pensar cuando ya te dedicas al otro aspecto. Which one is your favorite? The player, coach, general manager, or owner?
I gotta say maybe player.
Yeah, probably player, because player I can control that within myself. The problem is, it's just like an airplane. Is you have 40 or 50 passengers. I don't know what's going to happen with those 40 or 50 passengers, but I know if I step on the floor, I can get 20, 30 points, and that's it. I could go home, and that's fine. I did enjoy being a general manager though, because I'm starting to now. The owner thing's hard. But the general manager, you're basically scouting talent. You're looking for players from all over the country, and you have to basically, it's a puzzle, and you have to fix that puzzle to make this team work to see if the team's going to win or not. So I enjoyed that as well. I always joke around. I tag people on Facebook and stuff. I always say, I wish I could help the Lakers right now, because they're just bringing in anybody right now. I'm like, call me, man.
Get Palenque's job.
Yeah, call me, man.
Dice Gene que le gustaba mucho la situación ser jugador, porque a final de cuentas pues se concentraba en sus puntos, terminaba y vámonos a la casa a descansar, a comer, a estar a gusto para el siguiente partido y pensar en ganar. Pero le apasionó la labor del general manager, ¿no? Que tiene que ver un montón de cosas extras, buscar talento, seleccionar el talento de la mejor manera posible para conseguir los objetivos. Y dicen que si, viendo cómo han venido conformando los Lakers últimamente, si le echaran una llamada, le entraba con gusto, ¿no?
You take us in the media department, Gene, please, to Lakers.
To Lakers,
Because you're working with different ages, está trabajando con diferentes edades, desde niños hasta adolescentes. But let's see, for a player more in the range, Gene, if you were in that position of playing maybe with the, let's say, with the Zonkeys right now, for example, in this role, in this at this time in your life. So what do you look for in a player? What is he gonna say to you personally, and what type of characteristics do you look for in a basketball player that maybe could help your team right now? Estoy hablándole más de un jugador más cercano a profesional o profesional.
So obviously, the first thing I do is I look for the people's resume. That's very important to see where have you played at before. Number one, and this is weird, but I always look for Division I players. NCAA players. If I could find someone from Duke or UCLA or North Carolina, something like that, that's perfect. Those are kind of hard to get, those kind of players. But if you can find those kind of players, that's the kind of players that I want. Outside of that, when you don't get those kind of players, if a player shows up at the court and they're playing, the first thing I look for, well, there's three things. Number one, I'm looking for energy. I'm looking for someone who's going to run up and down the floor. I don't want some guy who's just out of shape.
¿Qué buscas en un jugador? Decía, la primera, energía. Un jugador que pueda correr, ir y venir en la duela durante todo el tiempo.
Sí, que decía, primero busca qué tipo de jugadores a lo mejor de los programas grandes están disponibles, ir sobre ellos, conseguirlos, lograrlos, o buscar hablar con ellos. Si no, pues empiezas a buscar en la siguiente
Number
etapa,
two?
¿no?
Number two, I look for, and especially in today's age and time, I look for people who are not famous, but like people who can be recognized with the league. What I liked about that era when we were playing, the era that we were playing with the Dragonians, is there's only certain players here in Tijuana that the crowd could recognize. You know, they and I look for those kind of players that, like, if they have that sort of special, we call it it factor. They have an it factor that people can recognize. That way, because from an owner's perspective, you want people to come in and pay tickets to buy that person, just to see that person play basketball. So I'm looking for that person who has the it factor, if that makes any sense.
Habla acerca de ese jugador que no nada más tiene la cuestión natural tal vez de juego, pero que sino a lo mejor tiene ese extra que aparte de su juego hace que evidentemente
que la gente lo conozca, que sea parte de la comunidad, que se identifique con ellos, ¿no?
Es correcto. And you say three?
Yeah, and I know this sounds weird, but I want the talent. Absolutely. I'm definitely looking for the talent. That's why I look for the NCAA players or something like that. But other than that, I'm looking for a good person, if that makes any sense. Because a lot of times you find players that they're really good at basketball, but they're giving the coach a hard time, and where's my money, or I'm not doing this if you don't do this, and why am I eating this food, or I don't like this. And you find that, and it ruins the chemistry of the team. One bad apple will ruin the whole chemistry of a whole basketball team. So what I kind of look for is someone who's, they have a general good personality that can fit in with the team. I want them to have the it factor when they're playing in the basketball game. But once they're done playing basketball, just be kind. Be able to adapt to Mexico. Sometimes we tell the players, we got to go to a school visit. We got to visit a high school, so those high school players can come to our games. We need you. Or we need you to sign autographs, or we need you to do these sort of things. So we're looking for a good person who's able to adapt to the Mexican culture or something like that.
Bueno, queda muy claro, una persona que no nada más tenga los atributos y cualidades dentro de la duela, sino que venga con una actitud positiva fuera de ella, participar en diferentes actividades que son necesarias, firma de autógrafos, visita a colegios, por ejemplo, entre otras cuestiones.
Que sea buena persona, además de ser buen jugador, ¿no?
Fuera de la duela. But I gotta just a little bit. It's tough, Gene, you know it, no? Because there's
tough.
A ton of players that are talented. A lot of, le pregunto acerca de un montón de jugadores americanos talentosos, pero que al mismo tiempo, but they are talented. But when it's a challenge, or maybe it's hard to accept for many of them that they have the talent and they are not maybe in another league, and they gotta come here.
Yeah.
And that's when the problem with the attitude outside the court is the biggest challenge for them. No, those players that we still remember, like you, and we're gonna mention a couple of them more. They did that. No, they not accepted, but they make the most about. I am here right now, so I'm gonna be the best in every aspect of the game. No.
Exactly. And I tell people, especially nowadays and even before, Mexico is a higher level than people give it credit for. I tell people all the time, right, like there's people who played in CIBAPAC who played in the NBA after that. You know, it doesn't, and like you said, people like Cedric Ceballos and those guys, they've come down here as well. So Mexico is a high level thing. So it's not like a thing like, it's like, wow, I'm being demoted, I'm here in Mexico. It's like, I always tell people, you make the most of all your opportunities. And Mexico is one, if you look up FIBA right now, it's probably one of the top 20, 25 countries in the world right now. And, you know, a lot of that has to do with Omar Quintero. He's one of the former players I played with the Zonkeys. He's doing a good job out there. But what happens is once your team is playing well and once you're playing well, you can move up to those higher levels. Have a positive attitude and think, I'm going to come here, I'm going to do well, and I'm going to move up. I can move up from Mexico to Spain or Argentina or the NBA, or, if that makes any sense. So you take the opportunity that you have and you make that the best you possibly can.
Dice que muchos jugadores asumen que voy a México, me están estoy perdiendo un grado, estoy cayendo del nivel. Y Gene dice que no, que el básquetbol mexicano te ofrece un muy buen nivel de competencia y que el trabajo realizado, por ejemplo, hoy en día con Omar Quintero a nivel selección nacional, etcétera, está dando frutos de una u otra manera. Piensa que muchos de los jugadores americanos se dejan desmotivar por esta circunstancia, pero la realidad es que van a encontrar un alto nivel competitivo en las diferentes ligas en las que se participan, ¿no? Vamos a ir a una pausa y regresamos para platicar de NBA, porque Gene dice, nos va a decir quién es mejor, Michael o LeBron. ¿LeBron o Michael?
Y también vamos a hablar un poquito de esos jugadores que recordamos aquí que jugaron aquí en Tijuana, ¿no?
En Tijuana. Nuestro buen amigo Marco Verdejo nos dice, y nos escribe en inglés, Gene Shipley, excellent player, muy buen jugador, especially on low post, muy bueno en el poste bajo. La última vez que jugamos juntos fue en los Diablos de Tasmania, de Tijuana, contra los Zonkeys, en un partido de pretemporada del CIBAPAC. Marco Verdejo is remembering you.
I just played with him, well, not too recently. It was like maybe a year ago in Puerto Vallarta. We won a championship out there. So excellent. He's still pretty good player, basketball player. I remember him with the Galgos, and yeah, I appreciate that.
Dice que hace un año, ya veteranos, Marco y él fueron a Puerto Vallarta y ganaron un campeonato, ¿no?
Yeah.
Dice, gracias a Shipley, thanks Shipley for the great job that he's doing here with the kids. Gracias a Gene por el trabajo que está haciendo con los niños. Y otro jugador que se quedó en la ciudad es Reggie McCoy. Dice, sure. Another player that stay in the city is Reggie McCoy.
Sure.
Reggie McCoy, él jugó con Galgos. Después tuvo una lesión o algo, pero fue muy popular al principio con el afro, ¿no?
Yeah.
Y ahí, Carlos, inmediatamente el nombre de Steve Weiss.
Steve Weiss con los Dragones. Los anteriores Dragones.
Los anteriores Dragones y más de la época de China. Ahorita recordábamos algunos nombres, pero obviamente hasta cierto punto recientemente Marcus Morrison con Zonkeys.
Sure.
Pero de aquella época, Gene, pues decías, Rochín, que también había sido seleccionado, y Enrique Zúñiga, jugadores mexicanos que estuvieron contigo en Dragones.
Zúñiga, que hoy es el técnico de la juvenil en México.
Sí, creo que sí, ¿no? Y obviamente también mucho tiempo en Lechugueros en la otra liga de León. Y obviamente recordamos también de Galgos a Leroy Hickerson.
Sure.
Y en este caso, pues son algunos de esos nombres que are few of the names that we remember as.
When I think about Tijuana, and I've been here for about a long time.
En los jugadores de Tijuana y tengo mucho tiempo aquí.
I think about Leroy Hickerson.
Pienso en Hickerson.
James Penny.
James Penny.
Marcus Morrison.
And Marcus Morrison.
Of course, myself. I always put myself in there.
Gene mismo.
Michael Amons, Michael Amons does a really good job. I've heard about Steve Weiss. And of course, there's a lot of Mexicans that they're
muchos
really,
muy buenos mexicanos, ¿no?
Like Enrique Zúñiga,
Jorge
Rochín, Diablo Castellanos.
El Diablo Castellanos,
Yeah,
Oscar.
Unos partidos, él estuvo unos partidos, básicamente. Fíjate, no sé si Marco se acuerde, había otro jugador, pero no estaba Gene en ese equipo, creo era Galgos. He was an American player, he was mixed, but he was white. Man, he was a good player, I remember, pero no tengo su nombre.
But
no
it
tengo
was
su
a
nombre.
center or
No, era un guardia, pero no estuvo mucho tiempo, pero era un gran jugador. Antes de que empezáramos hablábamos poquito de Leroy y de Marcus, y decíamos Marcus a lo mejor tirador, maybe a little bit more playmaker, but la capacidad atlética y los mates, and the athleticism and the dunks of Leroy were unbelievable.
When I think about the top shooting guard small forwards, you have to put Leroy Hickerson and Marcus Morris in there. But I would say Morrison was the more complete player as far as shooting. Hickerson was like a superstar. He was an athletic beast, and
he can fly.
He can fly everywhere, and he was
attack the basket.
He can attack the basket. He was an outstanding
His dunks
player.
were amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the same thing with James Penny as well. He was athletic as well, and he does
James
his thing.
Penny, muy atlético, pero era muy buen tirador.
No, y hay que decirlo, James did it en Tijuana.
En Mexicali.
Lo hizo en Tijuana y lo hizo en Mexicali.
Multi-champion en Mexicali.
Con el gran equipo de Soles, con Horacio Llamas, Greg Lewis, the one Wheat was a great, you remember him? Was a great player fue un gran jugador para Soles de Mexicali.
Multicampeón también.
De ese equipo campeón de esa primera etapa en Mexicali, equipazo.
The time has come.
Oh, we got the basketball on this one.
Gene Shipley is a LeBronist.
LeBronist. I like that.
En español es LeBron Lover. Pero let's say leave it at LeBronista or something.
Hemos platicado aquí con Gene, decíamos, y él nos expone su caso. Why we have to think and give LeBron a chance in the GOAT conversation. ¿Por qué le tendríamos que dar espacio a LeBron James en la plática sobre el GOAT en el básquetbol?
Well, for many reasons. I mean, number one, he's the all-time leading scorer in NBA history.
Primera, por ser el líder anotador de la NBA de todos los tiempos.
I believe right now he's top 10 in assists.
Top 10 en asistencias.
All time. Top 10 in steals.
Top 10 en robos.
All-time leading scorer in the All-Star game.
Líder de todos los tiempos en robos.
No, en el juego de estrellas.
En juegos de estrellas.
All-time leading scorer in the finals.
Líder de todos los tiempos en anotación en las finales.
All-time leading scorer in the playoffs.
Líder anotador de todos los tiempos en los playoffs.
He won a championship on the East Coast, the Midwest, and the West Coast.
Campeón en el este, medio oeste y este.
O sea, en los tiempos horarios de la Unión Americana, ¿no? Ganando títulos con Miami, Cleveland y Lakers.
LeBron is one of those players that I think 5 years from now, when he's retired, we're going to look in our history books and I'm like, wow, I can't believe you did all that. He has a body of work. It's like when we were talking about the Tijuana players. So all those players have a body of work. Marcus Morrison, Penny, Shipley, they all have a body of work that you have to appreciate it. So I believe, and I know everyone's most people are Jordan fans. Why? Because Jordan, in my opinion, is the greatest scorer of all time. He's an assassin. He'll kill you. And he won 6 championships, and he's a winner. And
he never loses a final.
He never loses in the final. In my opinion, and I know I'm going to get killed for this, I always say that...
No, Jim, no!
I have to say it. The 90s was not a great era of basketball, in my opinion.
The 80s were better.
No, well, so I'll say this. The 90s, if you remember, it was all about big men. It was David Robinson, it's Patrick Ewing, it's Olajuwon, it was Shaquille O'Neal, and there was no one who could, the people who Jordan was scoring against is Craig Elo and John Starks and Mark Price.
La competencia de Michael realmente no era tan buena como muchos piensan. Es decir, le anotaba a Greg Elo, a Brian Russell, le anotaba a jugadores de tipo. Era más bien una era de jugadores grandes. Patrick Ewing, etcétera, etcétera, etcétera. Pero en las posiciones de shooting guard, 3 no había grandes jugadores en la era Jordan.
Think about it, and I don't want this to sound the wrong way. Byron Russell came down here to Tijuana. I don't know if you guys
Russell vino a jugar a Tijuana.
I've scored 20, 25 points on Byron Russell in
él,
Tijuana.
él, Gene Shipley, le metió 22, 25 puntos a Brian Russell, que jugó contra Jordan.
Yeah, I don't think I can score 20, 25 points against Kawhi Leonard. I don't think I can do it against Giannis.
Dice Gene que él no podría anotarle
Maybe I can, but I don't think so.
A Antetokounmpo o a Kawhi Leonard, que son jugadores de la era LeBron.
Now, this is no disrespect. Michael Jordan and LeBron James I always say, there's a two kings. So it's like, if you think Michael's better than LeBron, yeah, you're right. If you think LeBron's better than Mike, yeah, you're right. In my opinion, and I always say that if there's a gun to my head right now and they're saying I need the best basketball player of all time, I'm going to pick LeBron. His body of work is just bigger than everybody else's, if that makes any sense. And so from that perspective, but I love Jordan. I love Kobe.
Dice, ama Jordan, ama Kobe.
Magic.
I love Magic. I played against Kobe in high school. I'm from the Philadelphia area, so I played with
contra Kobe en la prepa.
Yeah, so I know
Los dos son
Kobe,
de Filadelfia.
and I love Kobe. I know his family and all that stuff. There was a great basketball player, but I'm talking about if I want the number one basketball player of all time,
Basquetbolista de todos los tiempos.
I gotta go with LeBron.
Tendría que irse con LeBron.
Oh my goodness.
Don't kick me out. Don't kick me out.
Close his microphone, please. Okay, as a LeBron guy, two questions. Dos preguntas para Gene. The most difficult questions for a LeBron guy. His 4-6 record in the finals.
Sure.
And of course that he jumped ships. He left Cleveland, went to Miami to play with Wade, and then recruited Bosh. Okay, he made amends. He came back to Cleveland, but of course those great players of the dream team, they would never. Most of them were never transfer to another team to try to win a championship. So he left a team to go with a player that already had a title, the one Wade, and his 4-6 record in the final, getting killed by San Antonio, Gene, and then losing twice with the Heat. The first finals against the Mavericks, he did not show up, Gene.
Yeah, okay.
And, of course,
there's a point.
LeBron playing with Kyrie Irving, which is a great player, and you had Kevin Love and another guys. I know the Warriors are great, but he got destroyed by the Warriors in the finals.
Yeah.
So, I got a lot of problems with that. And just the Jordan thing. Of course, his main competition was tough, or was maybe not as tough. But you're playing against the other stars. I mean, Drexler.
Sure.
And Barkley. Sean Kemp and Gary Payton at his finest. And John Stockton and Karl Malone.
Sure.
And Magic and Worthy in the first.
And 91, well, the Lakers went a little
and the
banged
Pistons.
Up. Okay, I can say that. Maybe the Lakers went maybe at the end and they were a little injured. Okay, I can give you that. But what do you think? 4-6 in the finals, jumping chips.
So you're saying two different things. So I'll approach them both on two different levels here. The one thing you're saying about the jumping ship, I totally agree with that. I don't like that.
Es que no le gusta los chapulines.
Which now Kevin Durant has mastered.
Exactly. That now Kyrie Irving is mastered. I don't like that at all.
Ni Kyrie Irving ni Kevin Durant brincando de equipo en equipo le gustan.
I don't like that. That's like you're married to someone and you keep divorcing my wife because like I don't want to be with her
no more.
Con
una ya no me gusta y pues me voy a la otra y luego a la otra, no, pues.
So I agree with that. I am not a fan of that. So I'm not a fan of that. With that said, you said that he's been 4-6 in the finals. That's different.
4-6 en las finales.
So
eso es diferente.
And I'm go back to this again. The 90s was a very weak era.
Regreso. No me gustan los 90s porque se me hace una era fácil.
LeBron plays in the era right now. Steph Curry is probably considered top 10, 15 players of all time. Kevin Durant is considered one of the top 10, 15 players of all time.
Durant es uno de los mejores 50 de todos los tiempos.
If you think about the competition, Jordan's last finals, who was guarding him?
Sí, las
I'll tell you. Jeff Hornacek.
Jeff Hornacek.
That's my point.
Shannon Anderson.
That's
Russell.
That's Byron Russell.
¿Quién fue el que cuidó a Jordan en su última final, aquella contra el Jazz de Utah? Jeff Hornacek, Ben Russell
Y Shandon Anderson.
y Shandon Anderson.
And Shannon Anderson. Who did he go to the year before that? After those two finals, what was that? That was the Seattle Supersonics, right? Who's that? Gary Payton?
In a few.
The glove, yeah.
Who in
Hershey Hawkins.
Exactly. You're running to my point. And then in 1993, who was guarding him then? That was the Phoenix, right? That's Dan Marley, right?
Yes, Dan Marley was the shooting guard, the starting shooting guard.
You're running to my point. And in 1992, that was Clyde Drexler. Okay.
He killed Drexler.
Yeah, he killed Drexler. And in 1991, that was the Lakers.
La oposición directa, very injured Lakers.
Yeah, very injured Lakers.
Worthy and Scott were injured.
San Antonio Spurs is one of the top teams ever. They had obviously Tim Duncan and Manu Ginobili, some of the best international players ever. Steph Curry, in my opinion, is one of the top 10 players ever. Maybe, let's say top 15. Kevin Durant's one of the top 10, 15 players ever.
There is so many things that I will discuss. I love Steph, but he don't defend not even his shadow.
Yeah, that's true.
Le digo que me encanta Steph Curry, pero no defiende ni a su sombra.
Well, I'm talking about his body of work. He has 4 championships.
Yes, absolutely. The best shooter ever.
Best shooter ever. His body of work says that I am the best point guard. Well, not the best point guard. I'm one of the best point guards ever.
The best point guard is called
I didn't want to do that.
You were correct. He's absolutely top 10 because he's the best shooter ever.
He's the best shooter ever. Kevin Durant is one of the top 10, 15 players ever. LeBron.
If you put Durant against the best Karl Malone, one-on-one, who's best?
Well, but Durant is more than a 3, no? And of course, Malone.
Those are 2 different positions. But like if you hypothetically did that, I have Kevin Durant winning that 10 times out of 10.
Wow.
Yeah. It's just a different era. Even right now, I'm blown away, and I have arguments about this right now, even on Facebook and everywhere, that the international players are becoming better than the American players. Now it's
son mejores que muchos jugadores americanos.
If you look up right now on NBA.com,
Jokic and Doncic.
Who's the top 5?
¿Quiénes son los 5 mejores anotadores ahorita en la NBA?
Yeah, Luka Doncic,
Jokic,
Giannis,
Antetokounmpo,
Embiid,
Joel Embiid,
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Oklahoma City. Right now, if you look the top 5 rebounders today,
5 mejores
they're all
son
international
extranjeros.
All of them. It's unbelievable. If you go to any NBA team, and every NBA center is foreign. Almost all of them are foreign.
Why there is no more centers? That's
sure.
Well, there are 2 questions, porque there's no va a haber remedio. Ya estamos en la recta final con lo de LeBron. He's a LeBron guy, and
that's not going to change.
No. Just the last. I'm going to tell you something. I told you, if you have put Ervin Johnson to play with the liberty that LeBron has, he will have a career.
Carlos está abogando por Magic para ser el mejor de todos los tiempos.
Magic Johnson, in my opinion, is one of the top 5 players there. His legacy got cut short because of the virus that he has seen.
Es uno de los mejores jugadores de todos los tiempos, pero que su legado quedó corto por lo que pasó. But he had the size, he can shoot, he can pass like nobody.
He wasn't a great shooter, but he developed into a good shooter. He developed into a good shooter. Magic Johnson's legacy got cut short to being the greatest player of all time. He just got cut short. And I always say people don't give Larry Bird enough credit.
Absolutely.
People don't.
Because he's white.
Yeah, exactly. But now these white guys, they're doing. Now is the Joker. He might be a 3-time MVP. Luka Doncic is the leading scorer right now. Mac McClung just won the dunk contest. What I love about the game of basketball right now is it's becoming like it's not a black thing, it's not a white thing. You could be from Iraq, you could be from Japan.
Just players.
It doesn't matter. If a player is a good player.
But there's a problem, Gene. Carlos lo decía. We are escaseamos centros.
We don't have centers.
What's your theory about why less big men? Are they playing on other sports, or what's happening?
Why there's no big men in
one
basketball?
One question, and second question. Too many threes, Gene.
Y dice, ¿por qué tiramos tanto de tres?
I mean, that is not the case in the other leagues.
No es el caso en otras ligas.
You see a lot of basketball.
Yeah.
That is maybe, but if it's in the NBA, it's gone out.
Si pasa en la NBA, esto permea a las demás.
So, what about the big men, and why so many threes?
¿Por qué no hay hombres grandes en la NBA más? ¿Y por qué tantos tiros de tres?
So that's a 2-part question too. So my thing is they're developing centers better internationally and in Europe. Nowadays, because of this new era, and I blame that on Steph Curry, everyone wants to shoot threes, everyone wants to dribble. Even when you see me play, even back then, that was kind of like how I played a little bit. But the way that things are nowadays is If you look, the NBA is scoring more points than ever right now. Yes. And the NBA promotes. Back in the days, back in the Ron Artest days and all that stuff, if you watch some of those games, the score will be 76-74. You can't promote that. It's good that they're beating each other up and they're grabbing people's shirts and all that stuff. But the NBA as a market can't promote that. What do you promote? Points. They want back. And the NBA is now called pace and space. Pace and space basically means you're going at a faster pace and you're scoring at a quicker pace. If that makes any sense.
La NBA busca, obviamente, puntos para promocionar. Es más fácil promocionar un juego de 150 puntos, como lo hemos venido diciendo muchas veces, a un juego que termine 74-71. ¿No?
Como lo pone Gene, es muy cierto. O sea, que Curry es como el detonante.
Y Curry detonó el cambio.
As, it looks maybe, Gene, as like Silver, maybe he's in a memo, no? Like, hey guys, for all those brilliant defensive coaches, we don't really need you.
Right.
We need points, we need show, because we need tickets sold, we need fans.
Basketball at the end of the day, and that's what I was telling you about with the owner thing, it's entertainment.
Es entretenimiento.
People want to see entertainment. I was very upset because there was the most points scored ever in the All-Star game. I was very upset at how the All-Star game was.
Yeah, they took it to another level.
That was another level of I'm not playing defense.
We're remembering 30 years ago yesterday, and today we have it in the other reports that we have in the show, Gene. 30 years ago, they play, in Utah, again.
I just watched that, Salt Lake City. Yeah.
And do you remember, it was in the East where Pat Riley was a coach, Jordan, Pippen, Isaiah Thomas.
Sure.
Young Shaq was his first All-Star game.
Yes.
It was 135, 132 in overtime. A great game.
Yeah.
And 30 years later, we got this piece of crap on Sunday.
Yeah.
Jesus, defend even in the fourth quarter, guys.
Yeah, I was very disappointed in that.
And que está decepcionado de lo que vimos en el juego de estrellas.
I'm very critical and to a fault sometimes about American basketball because nowadays people are protecting their brands. Like, I can't get hurt out here on All-Star game because I got a game here on Tuesday and I'm worth $40 million.
Se preocupan demasiado por las cuestiones de no voy a jugar bien aquí porque tengo partido de la NBA el sábado. Si me lesiono voy a perder dinero.
And I understand that, but
y lo puedes entender.
Back in those times, and that's what you're talking about, back in those times, they played with heart.
Jugabas más duro.
They played with more heart, and they played with a sense of pride that they're not playing with nowadays.
Con un orgullo que ahora no tienen.
And if you notice, I don't know if any of you guys noticed it, if you notice, Joker wasn't out there. Luka wasn't out. Those Europeans weren't out there.
Los europeos no se pararon.
Because Europeans don't like to play that style of basketball. If we want to play, let's really play. And if you notice, Luka wasn't out there, Joker wasn't out there, Giannis wasn't out there. Embiid played well, but that style of basketball where I'm not going to play any defense is
el básquetbol sin defensa no le gusta a muchos jugadores europeos que están acostumbrados a pelear en todos los juegos.
Yeah, it's happening a little bit too much. If there's something I would change about the NBA is
si algo cambiaría en la NBA,
I'm not a fan of load management. I'm not a fan of players sitting out. I'm not a fan of people not playing defense because I might get hurt. Jesus. You know, because you don't know what could happen.
No me gustan los jugadores que se guardan y estoy lesionado, no voy a jugar o voy a descansar un día.
Imagine it's like when Dennis Rodman came down here to Tijuana. Imagine some person paid their ticket to see Dennis Rodman just for Dennis Rodman to go down there and just jog around and all this stuff. People want to see entertainment. They want to be entertained. And
imagínense toda la gente que pagó boleto para ver a Dennis Rodman cuando vino a Tijuana que no hubiera jugado, que no se hubiera parado en la duela.
That's kind of why I had a problem with Rihanna and the Super Bowl thing. She kind of wasn't moving. I didn't know she was pregnant until now. Once I found she was pregnant.
Muchos decían que se criticaron el espectáculo de Rihanna porque no se movía el Super Bowl, pero estaba embarazada, ¿no?
Sí, pero lo que da a entender es claramente que si vas a aparecer en un lugar, en cualquier prácticamente trabajo, pues you go full at full.
People want to see his show. That's why they like Beyonce. That's why they like Bruno Mars. That's why they like the Michael Jordan. Even when you talk about one thing I will say LeBron didn't do, which I don't like, is he never participated. The dunk contest. He never did it.
And LeBron took off days. Michael never took enough days.
Yeah, and we talked about yesterday, Gene, about the dunk contest. He would have just got for reputation.
Yeah,
he would have shown up 2 or 3 times. He would have won. You check the box, and that's it.
Exactly. If there's one thing I'll criticize LeBron is he didn't do that. But everything else he's done. Everything else.
Rule Sayer, one of our viewers. Hi, Gene. In what place you put Tim Duncan? ¿En qué lugar pones a Tim Duncan?
Top 10 for sure.
Mr. Fundamental.
Top 10 for sure.
Absolutely top 10.
Top 10.
Listen, if you were making the top 10 right now, and I know in any order, I have Tim Duncan there. I have Bird, Magic, LeBron, Michael, Shaq.
No, it's not
Curry.
gonna be. We're in the final part of the interview, Gene. We hope you come back. But you gotta go 1 to 5. That's it. What?
You're starting
Okay, LeBron is 1, and maybe for you, Michael 2.
Yes.
3, 4, and 5. Go.
You can put out Kareem.
You
You can put out Magic.
It's Gene's list.
No,
I'm the devil.
No, you're a good devil though. I definitely have Kareem in there for sure.
Did you ever try a skyhook?
It's so hard to do. No, I know how to do a jump hook, but the sky hook, that's a whole nother level.
I was listening to Kareem a couple of days ago, and he was saying in a podcast, maybe to
Le preguntaba que si él intentó con su estatura un skyhook.
Estaba en un podcast con Byron Scott y le preguntó a Byron Scott que por qué no más gente así es. And Jabbar said, "Oh, he's easy. He's very easy, but nobody has done it, so it's not that easy."
If it's so easy, everyone else would be doing it. I would personally, if we were making a 5, I would have LeBron, Jordan, Kareem, Magic, and who would be my 5th? A lot of people see. I don't know about Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain. Like I was born in the '80s, so I don't.
Maybe you can say in our era, no? Or in our lifetime.
Yeah. So if let's say that 5th person would be
Duncan, Shaq, Curry,
Pippen.
Poor Pippen.
No, Pippen's out of there.
Poor Pippen.
Maybe I would say between
Malone, Barkley,
Bird.
Larry Bird.
Okay. Larry Bird would be my top 5 right there.
Te pregunto, Abraham Mesa, who can guard Jordan of the actual players?
No one. I'm not. Listen, I'm Jordan. No one could guard him.
No, but you know what, Jim? Pero sabes qué, Abraham? I can concede that with that incredible athleticism and the long, Giannis would be a challenge for Michael.
Oh, well, that's 2 different positions, but yeah, absolutely.
But he's that athletic, Gene.
Giannis, if he keeps going, he's going to be in my top 10.
Yeah, he's amazing.
That's what I'm telling you about these international players. If Luka keeps going, he's going to be in my top 10. If Joker keeps going,
but you know what? Maybe with both, but more with Doncic fitness. Le pregunto por la cuestión física con Jokic and con Doncic. I'm not saying that he has to have a great body, but for Doncic's fitness, I think that is going to be a problem. If he doesn't get better at that, injuries are going to be a problem for him.
As of right now, he's his number-wise, he's on pace to do what LeBron's doing. If he just keeps going as it is, I'm not talking about his body. I'm talking about his body of work. From a body of work
Hablando
perspective,
de Doncic, de Dallas.
Luka Doncic is on pace to be one of the top 10 players, as is Giannis. As is, I think Embiid is criminally underrated because Embiid year after year is
Dice
just...
que la gente es muy respetuosa con Joel Embiid, yo soy uno de ellos.
De Filadelfia.
De Filadelfia, que porque pues obviamente tiene el tamaño, esto, aquello y los números para que fuera mejor calificado contra otros en su posición del pasado.
He's just not a big man. He has the touch, he has the moves.
Yeah, and obviously the Joker. I'm a big fan, and the Joker doesn't. Those Europeans, they don't have the best bodies in the world.
Destaca a Nikola
Jokic,
¿no? Que es extraordinario.
The Joker might win MVP this year. Now it'll be three years in a row. So that's unprecedented. The only people who have done that is Larry Bird and I believe Wilt Chamberlain.
Eso lo pondría en lugares de gente que lo ha hecho en el pasado como Bird o Chamberlain. Oh, Gene,
we could talk a couple of hours with you
all day about basketball, but
sure.
Of course we have to do many other news. Thank you very much for being here.
No, thank you for having me. This was outstanding.
Good luck with your enterprise. Let's call it, and we talk again. Where are you going?
Next time we're going to ask Gene to show us physically. We go to a basketball court.
Abel lo va a marcar.
With some of the moves, some of the things that people do in the past and that are not doing right now, and I'm going to ask you to try a few skyhooks.
No problem. I still got a little bit left in me. I still got left in my tank.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, he looks.
Gene, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Señores, señores,
Thank you
Gene
very much.
Shipley estuvo con nosotros platicando mucho tiempo de básquetbol. Gracias. Vamos a pausa, regresamos, tenemos mucho más, cómo le está yendo al Real Madrid, etcétera, etcétera, etcétera.